You're now watching Way Back Wednesday, sponsored by Davenport Auto Park, the ride of your life. And also sponsored by Flores Glass, serving the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
Well, good evening, friends, and welcome to another episode of Way Back Wednesday. I'm Randy Adcox. Glad you could join us tonight. Tonight's show is, for lack of a better term, we'll just call it a Jukas mixture. I got involved in a search a couple days ago, and it was kind of based on some things that we talked about during last week's show. If you remember, we were down around Tarver Street and Washington Street, 5 Points, on that area. And I thought it would be neat to kind of look around that area and kind of trace the history of some of the businesses and some of those buildings that were in that area down there. And so I started looking into different addresses and looking at what was at those addresses over the years. And as sometimes can happen and when you're doing this kind of research, you get off in a tangent that just goes off in multiple directions. And next thing I knew, I was all over chasing businesses, because businesses move from time to time. They start out at one location, and after a few years they expand and move to a larger location, or they get a better deal on another rented building, or they buy a building. And so I ended up chasing businesses all over downtown Rocky Mount, from Washington Street to Main Street, Sunset Avenue, and so forth. And so that being said, I can only tell you that tonight's show is loosely based around furniture stores, because that was what I was trying to do, was track down some of the history of some of the furniture stores downtown Rocky Mount. And I had forgotten just how many furniture stores there have been in Rocky Mount over the years. It's got at least a dozen. We're going to talk about 3 or 4 primary stores tonight, but a lot of these were family owned and passed down from generation to generation. And so with that being said, if you watch the show on a regular basis, we've talked quite a bit about Mr. Z.B. Bullock. Z.B. Bullock is pretty much given credit for starting Inglewood. He bought land out there and started developing Inglewood back in the 1920s. His home place that he built in Inglewood over on Sunset Avenue is actually recently been sold, and they're working on it now. And I'm really anxious. I know the lady her and her husband have bought the place, and so I won't call her name on the air, but she has graciously agreed to let me come take a look at it once they get through, so I'm looking forward to that. But I stumbled across Mr. Bullock's name tonight in 2 or 3 locations that I totally did not expect to find his name, and one of those was in the furniture business. So then I started going back to see just how far his links were to furniture in Rocky Mount, and what else he was involved with. I always thought he made his money in the meat business, Bullock Meats, and everything to do with that, butcher shop and so forth. But anyway, and I've got to admit I'm a little bit at a disadvantage tonight, because ordinarily, anytime I print off, or anytime I have an article from the Telegram that I want to share with you, I'll print a copy off for myself that I can have here in front of me at my desk and read it while you're seeing the screen image on your TV set. I ran out of time getting ready for tonight's show and didn't get a chance to do that, so I'm at Lee's mercy tonight. So Lee, I may need you to bail me out here a time or two and zoom in on some of these articles so that we can read them. But without any further ado, let's jump right into this. We're going to start out with a listing from the 1908 to 1909 City Directory. That's about as far back as I have found online with city directories, and there's several decades of directories online. But the 1908-1909 directory is where I first found Mr. Z.B. Bullock's name mentioned, and there you go. And he was listed, of course, as a butcher and a meat market, and you see there is Z.B. Bullock, City Market. And then there were, a couple others listed there as well. I don't know if these were business partners or if they were just acquaintances or all co-workers, I'm not sure. But this was the first time I saw Mr. Bullock's name listed. And again, this was in the 1908 to 1909 City Directory. So fast forward a few years to 1914 to 1915. And some years they did that. Some years they had 2 years combined in a city directory. So in 1914 and 1915, that's what they did. They combined 2 years into one city directory. And so, Lee, if you would go ahead and let's put up the very next one, the second picture there, which is actually just another ad. And you see Zeb B. Bullock, fresh and cured meats, fish, and oysters. And notice the address, 131 South Washington Street. Phone numbers 51 and 395 and 627. And I did not know this. You see his home address there, 230 Rose Street. And it even gives his home phone number, number 355. And again, this is in 1914, 1915. I saw a picture, and I wish I'd have thought to bring it tonight, because I totally forgot about it, and I'm not sure if that home was this one at 230 Rose Street. But I never knew of another home that Mr. Z.B. Bullock owned other than the one that's over here off Sunset Avenue. But I saw recently another picture of an old, looks to be a 2- or 3-story house. I'm sure it's long been torn down now. And that may have been this address at 230 Rose Street. There were some big old houses over in that area of town, if you remember, years ago. Most have been torn down now. But in 1914, 1915, in the city directory, Mr. Z.B. Bullock was listed, as you see there, as basically a butcher, sold meats and fish and oysters and so forth. And the address was 131 South Washington Street. So he was down in that area down there where, you know, there were furniture stores around, obviously. We're right down there near 5 Points. And so, you know, we talk about these little areas of commerce, and certainly Washington Street, in the very close proximity to Main Street, literally one block over. There was a lot of commerce going around there, a lot of different types of businesses, and Mr. Bullock probably fit right in down there. It was a great location in the 19-teens. So fast forward now to 1920, and go ahead and lead to the next page if you would. In 1920, I ran across this listing, and you can zoom out on this if you would, Lee. This is funeral directors, and you see there, it lists Bullock Furniture Company at 200 South Main Street with the listing for funeral directors. Now, I can only assume they must have sold caskets. That's what I'm guessing here anyway. But there's R.R. Gay, I think later became Words with Gay and Yo's Funeral Home. I'm not familiar with Hula Battle, but by being the Douglas building there, I'm assuming that was probably the only African-American funeral director in Rocky Mount in the 1920s. But in 1920, Bullock Furniture Company was located at 200 South Main Street. And as you see there, they were, in addition to being a furniture company, they were also listed as a funeral director. That's something I didn't expect to find, and it was kind of shocked to see that. So now, let's fast forward one more time, Lee, and jump to 1925 in the next picture, which is another listing, and you see there, Bullock Furniture Company, and if you notice, there you go, thank you, Lee, appreciate that. Z.B. Bullock, upper right-hand corner of your screen there, and Mr. W.A. Bullock. I'm assuming these were brothers. I never knew anything about Mr. Z.B. Bullock's family other than I knew his son, Wayne, and he had a daughter named Foy, but I didn't know anything about his siblings. So I'm going to assume that W.A. Bullock was Mr. Z.B. Bullock's brother, though he could have been could have been his, I don't think it was with his son. His son wasn't old enough to have been working with his father in 1925. So could have been a brother, could have been his dad for that matter. But you see there, talking about a wide range, a wide variety of business. He ran a Bullock Furniture Company, funeral directors and embalmers. He ran an ambulance service day or night, motor equipment, complete funeral parlors, and a chapel service. In addition, by the way, to being a meat salesman, a meat cutter, and a butcher. So the gentleman certainly had a wide variety of businesses, and to his credit, he seemed to be very successful at all of them. By the time I met Mr. Bullock, and I was in my early teens, 12, 13, maybe somewhere along in there, he was already on up in age. I'm guessing his late 80s, if not early 90s. Oh, we got a call. Let's get this call. Oh, hello, caller. You're on the air.
All right. We're talking about Mr. Z.B. Bullock and W.A. Bullock. I think those two people were brothers, and that 200 Main Street location where Bullock Furniture Company was in those early years was on the corner there where the J.C. Penney building was.
That's right. They just recently tore that building down. That's the one that the wall got blown by the wind, and they've gone back and finished demolishing that building.
Well, Penney's was in that building. That's where Bullock Furniture Store was at before they built the building over there on Church Street next door to the Central Cafe. That That's where that business was located at.
That's right. That's exactly right. 200 Southwest Main.
Will Bullock had a daughter, and she married Dr. Kinchlow, that for many years was the pastor at the First Baptist Church. And they had 7 children, I think. And the boss there now is Bill Kinchlow. He is the oldest son of Bill Kinchlow. His mother was the daughter of Will Bullock.
Okay.
That's how they're tied together.
Okay.
All right.
All right, thank you. Okay. Yeah, I never knew that either. I never knew that there was a connection between the Mr. Bullock that I knew and Bullock Furniture Company, and there you have it. That's how they're connected there. So I guess Mr. Bullock's, it would have been his niece that married into the Kinchlow family, and of course the rest is history there as far as the Bullock Furniture goes from that point forward. Okay, Lee, so let's go then to picture number 5, and we'll fast forward to 1941, and this is an ad that appeared, and you see there Bullock Furniture. If you zoom on this a little bit, Lee, it says, can you afford to miss buying your furniture now? Bullock's March Furniture Special saves you 25%. And so if you don't have all the cash, use Bullock's Simplified Budget Plan. Now keep in mind, this is 1941, and World War II is going on now, of course. And this was kind of the beginning age of buying on credit. When the guys came back from war, especially, there was a lot of credit going on. A lot of people were buying on terms and buying on time, as old saying used to be. And so Bullock Furniture jumped right on that bandwagon too, and not only allowed you to buy on terms, you could actually get a pretty good discount buying your furniture. And again, this ad appeared, let's see here, where are we at, Lee? This is number 5, right? So this would have been March of 1941. This ad appeared, and you see, scroll to the bottom of this list, this ad, Lee, if you would, and you'll see the street address there. Bottom left-hand corner is 200 South Main Street. So as Eric was just saying, there on the corner, Penny was there for a while. A friend of mine, Steve Cedarberg, reminded me some time ago, there was a shoe store in there, Discount Shoes, I think, or something along those lines. And it was there in between the time when it was Penny's and I think Bullock Furniture. But anyway, that would have been probably back in the 70s, perhaps early 80s. But it was a discount shoe store there in that same building too. But anyway, that's the one, as I said earlier, the wall got blown down, and there was actually a section still, actually it was dangerous. There was a big section up there just kind of freestanding up there, and the city or someone's gone by and finished demolishing that part. It was overhanging there before it fell on top of somebody, thank goodness. So anyway, let's move ahead, Lee. So the next picture, 200, again, this is the old, here you go. This picture actually comes from 2012. You remember me saying, when you go on Google and do a Google search for an address, up in the upper left-hand corner, I know you can't read that, but there's actually a little slider there that sometimes will let you go back and look at a particular address over a span of 2 or 3 or 4 sometimes different years. So I went back and looked at the 2012, and that's what you're looking at here right now. This is how this building appeared in 2012, and you see they were doing some, I want to say remodeling, but some work there on the sidewalk in front of the building. But yeah, this was a neat old building. I'm not sure, I couldn't find an actual date when this building was built. I'm going to guess sometime in the early teens. It could have been older than that actually. And it's a shame that the building just didn't make it. But with those neat archways on the side of the building there, a lot of floor space, and it's a 2-story building, of course. But this was a location for, as Eric said, JCPenney as well as Bullock Furniture Company. And this picture you're looking at here, as I said, was from 2012. So, okay. I mentioned tonight's show is kind of loosely based on furniture stores. And so when I was going through and looking at buildings in downtown Rocky Mount, both on Main Street and Washington Street and in some of the side streets and so forth, I ran across a company listed that had actually bought out or bought a building that had previously belonged to the Rocky Mount Furniture Company. So I got to looking back in the old city directories and just kind of going backwards in time to see how far back I could trace a furniture store in Rocky Mount called the Rocky Mount Furniture Company. There's no way of knowing for certain that it's the same company all these years, but go back, we'll go ahead to the next picture, number 7. In 1908, this ad appeared, and you see there it says Rocky Mount Furniture Company. One of the most exceptionally popular furniture stores in this city is that of the Rocky Mount Furniture Company. This concern is deserving of unlimited patronage. The gentleman at the head of this firm are a gentleman in every sense of the word, and enjoy the patronage of a host of friends who are always sure to be treated in the most fair and courteous manner. We point with pride to this popular establishment and predict for it continued success in a large scale. We hereby recommend the enterprise to wage earners as well as to the public in general. The above firm is one of our leading furniture stores and is located at 127 Main Street. Okay, this is 1908. 1908, the Rocky Mount Furniture Company was located at 127 Main Street. Okay, so then I went fast forward, and I went to the 1914-1915 Rocky Mount City Directory. Again, that's the one that was 2 years combined into one. And I found this ad. So Lee, if you would, put up the next ad. And as I said, this is 1914-1915. And you see there, it's a little bit grainy. Can we zoom in just a little bit on this, Lee? I'm not sure how much clearer it'll be. There you go. And you see that it says, why not buy your furniture? And there you go, rugs, mattings, window shades, springs, mattresses, baby carriages, stoves, ranges, pianos, and organs. No caskets, by the way. I guess they didn't opt to go into the funeral business. But it says at the Rocky Mount Furniture Company, we carry a large and varied assortment of all classes of goods. I can't read, it's getting a little too grainy for my eyesight there. But anyway, you see the address. Hey, thank you, Lee. 201 to 206 South Main Street. So if you notice earlier, they were, it was at 127, I think, Main Street. So they moved into the next block in 1915. And here they're at 204 to 206 South Main Street. You know, I think, and don't quote me, I could be mistaken here, but I seem like I remember reading somewhere or someone telling me that before Rocky Mount had Northeast Main and Southeast Main and Northwest Main and Southwest Main, if it was an even number, it was on the west side of Main Street, and if it was an odd number, it was on the east side of Rocky Mount. And so you'll notice in this listing from 1915, it doesn't say Southwest or Southeast, it just says 204 to 206 South Main Street. So going by that logic of even numbered businesses or addresses being on the west side of the tracks and odd numbered businesses or addresses being on the east side of the tracks, we can pretty safely say this was in the, what would modern day be 204 to 206 Southwest Main Street, or as I said, the side of the street where the train station is, for those that are not familiar with the east-west mentality. I just realized we're time for our first commercial break. So Lee, bring it back to me. We're going to take a quick break, folks. When we come back, we're going to show you some more articles and some more. Got a couple of pictures here. When I got delved into this stuff tonight, it was just so much information here, and I got mired down in it really quickly, and I apologize for that. But anyway, when we come back, we're going to talk about some more. We're going to show you some neat old history of Rocky Mount. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Way Back Wednesday.
I'm Daniel Moss, owner of Cornstalk Funeral Home, and I'd like to invite you and your family to give our family an opportunity to serve you in your time of need. And we offer a full line of funeral services, everything from visitations to graveside services to cremations on site with a live crematory, as well as a banquet hall to meet the catering needs of our families that we serve. We offer catering service. We offer refreshments prior to visitations and services of our family. And we want to invite you to come and experience the difference here at Cornerstone Funeral Home.
Hello, my name is Gus Tullis of Gus Tullis Insurance, and I've been helping people with their insurance needs for well over 20 years. If you're turning 65 or you're currently on Medicare, I can help you make the best decision for the Medicare plan that will suit your needs. Don't wait. Call me today. I'll answer any question you have. 252-937-6913. Looking forward to hearing from you.
When faced with special care needs for elderly or disabled loved ones, families want compassionate, comforting care. That's Tender Touch Home Care Services' goal, providing the level of care we would expect for our own. With over 10 years of home care excellence, Tender Touch provides an array of services that keeps your loved one at home. From personal care, light housekeeping, errands, and meal preparation, to our private duty care program, which combines all of our home care offerings in one package.
Tender Touch Home Care Services, where your needs are our concern.
If you're just tuning in, we're talking about furniture tonight, furniture stores specifically. You know, as I said at the top of the show, I didn't realize there were so many different furniture stores and such variance in business within some of these stores. I had to chuckle when I read the ad from Mr. Bullock's furniture store back in the early days when it was also a funeral home, and that was something I never expected to run across. But you know, it was not at all uncommon many years ago for one business to house several different types of businesses. And we saw, for example, a lot of the hardware stores around town sold everything from groceries to hardware to clothes, and so it was, you know, today I guess we think about the Walmarts and the Kmarts and the stores that have everything under one roof, but that concept is really not new. It's been around for, you know, many, many years. It's just changed over the years. So, okay, let's jump back into this, Lee. In 1934, there was a Enterprise Furniture Company, and you see there the Great Majestic Range. Obviously, they're talking about an oven or stove here, I guess. And Lee, can you zoom in on this a little bit? I think the address for this place is down near the bottom down there. I'm not sure how well it goes. So we have been appointed exclusive, blah, blah, blah. Okay, there you go. 155 to 162 South Washington Street. Okay. And we've talked in the past, too, about sometimes streets, addresses change a little bit. But, you know, what I found is that for the most part, down around Main Street and Washington Street especially, and Church Street, too, most of those addresses have remained pretty consistent since the early 1900s. So I think we can pretty much safely say that that address is still accurate today. That and I forgot what it was already, Lee. There you go. You see there, the exclusive dealers for Rocky Mountain Center and to make immediate deliveries. So in 1934, I'm not sure how many places there were in town that were actually selling ranges. They were still probably, you know, for a lot of people out of the budget, so to speak, out of price range of a lot of people. But this place, I didn't find an awful lot about it, other than this listing here in 1934 and this ad, I should say, from 1934. So let's go ahead, Lee, then, and jump to 1959. And I ran across this. This was obviously a Rocky Mountain Telegram advertisement. And it says, pastor of the Southside Baptist Church will speak at the regular Sunday afternoon service, November 26, 1950, at the City Mission, 216 South Washington Street. Oh, we got a call. Let's get this call. Hello, caller, you on the air?
Randy, I just want to tell you that Enterprise is located right behind where David's Furniture Company is right now.
Okay, all righty.
And just to tell you that, you know, they, back in World War II, they were, you know, limited to what they could get. People had to put the name on a list to get anything.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother, because she had 3 children in the military at the same time, 3 boys, she got a refrigerator from Enterprise.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just thought I'd throw that in.
How about that? That's a neat story. Okay, buddy. Appreciate that sharing that with us.
Right, thank you.
All right, man. We'll see you. Okay. Yeah, you know, that's something that happened quite often during the war. You know, you had to, you know, you got, there was just so much to go around, as he said. You know, you had to kind of have some special circumstances to be able to get access to some of this stuff. Oh, let's see. I'm not sure what I did. There we go. Okay. All right. So anyway, this ad here appeared for what was referred to as the city mission. Now, this was in 1950, and the address jumped out at me, 216 South Washington Street, number 1, because that's obviously an area of, as we refer to, commerce, the stores and so forth. And I thought it kind of odd that there would be, a mission, so to speak, religious organization right there in the middle of all this. But apparently, this thing was here in 1950. I'm not sure exactly when it opened up, but I found references to this thing for, golly, a good 25 or 30 years. I forgot the last date I found, but there were several pastors that would go speak. They would have fundraisers. They would have special events. They would have feeding events for the low income, and they would have food drives and clothes drives. And it was really a neat operation, and it was right down there amongst all these furniture stores and automotive stores, around the corner from car dealers and so forth, the post office, the drugstore, right in that vicinity where all that was going on. Oh, we got a call. Let's get this call. Hello, caller, you're on the air.
Randy, I hate to bother you again, but that city mission was located right behind where the old Whaley's, which was later Dixon Furniture Company. Yes,
it was indeed, and that threw me for a loop too, because I didn't realize that was the same building.
The one behind it, that old bad-looking building, that's where it was at.
Okay, so it wasn't the same building, it was the building behind the other building, you're saying?
That's right. It actually faced Washington Street.
Right. Did you ever go in that building, this mission building?
Pardon?
Did you ever go in this building?
I never did. I went to the door of it just to look in. But I never went inside. But just to give you a little more history, on that vacant lot that's right there. Farouk Hamid put the first subway that I knew of in Rocky Mount in a kind of a food truck type thing, located right there back, I don't know, probably 50 years ago.
You mean a Subway sandwich shop?
Yeah, like a food truck.
Wow.
Located right there on that vacant space.
How about that? I should remember that. I'm old enough to remember that, but honestly, I don't.
I'm older than you.
You are? But 50 years ago, I was old enough to remember that. I sure was. But
okay.
All right, buddy. Thanks again. All right. Let's see here. I'm not sure. There we go. Okay. So this thing ran. Oh, another call. Let's get this call. Hello, caller. You on the air?
Hello, Randy. Good evening.
Good evening.
City Mission, I'm somewhat familiar with it. I remember my grandmother taking me up to that location on Washington Street. It was like a single entrance door, and you went in and up a flight of steps up to the second floor level.
Okay.
This would have been about 1953, 55 in that era. So it was, like I say, it was sort of like a satellite church facility.
Right. That's kind of what I was thinking it must have been. So any idea what was on the ground floor of that building?
No, I don't have much of an idea. I just remember it's kind of strange. You stepped in a doorway right off the sidewalk and went up the steps to a second level.
Okay. So, all right, buddy. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All righty. So yeah, it obviously served a meaningful purpose in downtown Rocky Mount. It did a lot of good for a long time. Like I said, I saw listings and advertisements and articles going well into, I want to say, into the 1970s for this mission that was down there on Washington Street, as you said. Okay, so in the address 216 South Washington Street. Now, I mention that because in 1982, we'll go ahead and lead to the next picture, that building was the home of a flea market. And you see the address there, 216 South Washington Street, behind Whaley Furniture. Another caller mentioned behind Whaley Furniture. Sometime prior, because this was in 1982, this ad appeared in the Rocky Mount Telegram. So sometime prior to 1982, the city mission, I guess, ceased to operate in there, and this flea market took over the space, and it ran for a number of years. And then in 1987 was the next listing I could find for anything that was located at this 216 South Washington Street address. And Lee, if you would, let's go put the next picture up, and you can see here that at 216 South Washington Street in 1987, there was a downtown Rocky Mount warehouse discount sales. And you see that down below there, it says Saturday 8 to 12 sidewalk warehouse sale, inside, outside. Closing out entire stock, prices slash all kinds of furniture, used air conditioners, piano, stereo appliances, flea market items, clothing, antiques, many items, all slashed to closeout. So, you know, again, after the city mission ceased to operate out of here, it became a couple different things. And in that was 1987 right there. In 1996, let's go to the next picture if you would. In 1996, it was the home of a haunted house. And he says, no haunted house compares to the lasting effect of The Quest. October 23rd to 26th, 6:30 to 10:30, 216 South Washington Street, Rocky Mount, $1 admission. We challenge you to tour it. Parental guidance is advised. So I can only imagine what kind of haunted house this thing was made into or changed into. But you know, old building, probably creaking steps, and I'm sure it was kind of dark and eerie in there anyway, even in the light, and we put everything dark and with some eerie candles and eerie noises and some scary stuff jumping out at you. I imagine it made quite a haunted house. So in 1996, it was the haunted house. And then I couldn't find anything else around the time, honestly. There may have been something else in this location after 1996, but I did manage to get a picture of the building as it is today. So Lee, if you would, let's go ahead and put this next picture up. And this is the 216 South Washington Street address. Are you there, Lee? There you go. And you see, I mean, it's this was a fairly recent building here. I think this was actually 2019, I think, was the latest Google listing that I had. The slider control up left-hand corner went back, I think, to 2008, and then went to 2012, and then 2019. So I think this is a 2019 image. It didn't change very much, but as you can see, it looks like maybe at some point there could have been a couple different businesses operating out of here. You see a door to the left and a door to the right. But this building had, you know, a lot of history in it, obviously, and it's still standing. I'm not sure what kind of condition it's in. I don't think there's anything in it today. I think it's abandoned or at least empty and unoccupied, I guess is a better way to say it. But you know, there's a lot of these old buildings in downtown Rocky Mount that, you know, are in bad state of disrepair. That goes without saying. Many of them are probably unsafe to go in now. And it's just a shame that so many have been torn down, and I'm afraid many more will be torn down in the coming years, because it's almost cheaper to tear one down and build a new building than it is to go in and, you know, and repair the damage that's been done by years of neglect. And so I don't hold out much hope that a lot of these old or dilapidated buildings will see another life. Oh, we got a call. Let's get this call. Hello, caller. You on the air?
Hey, Randy, how you doing?
Hey, Harold, I'm good, buddy. How you?
Fine, thank you. That building that you have on now looks a lot like the old Pepsi Cola bottling plant building. Could it be?
You know what? As a matter of fact, I think it may be. You know,
back area of, but actually it was not on Main Street. It was.
Yeah, this is on Washington Street right here.
Washington Street.
Yeah, but you know, further down, on the corner of Washington, I think it's Hill Street there, across from Edge Community College, that big old 3- or 4-story building there.
Building.
That was Pepsi Cola bottling for a while.
NG's bottling company.
Yep. And it was Camasco for a while.
They bottled the Pepsi there. I put it together with the ingredients, but they stamped the caps on them anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I did see a couple listings where the Pepsi Cola bottling company had 2 different addresses. In other words, they had I guess a manufacturing operation in one building and maybe an administrative operation in another building.
They could have, but they had also interest in the Miller Beer Company franchise, and so it could be that they operated the beer, Miller's beer. out of that other unit.
That's entirely possible. It is indeed possible.
But it just looks similar to that old Pepsi plant.
Yep.
And then there were several wholesale companies over in that area later occupied some of those old buildings.
Yes, there were. There were indeed.
Wholesale operations, as well as some candy companies that sold to retail stores.
Yeah, and the Rocky Mountain Popcorn Company was over there in that old Pepsi building for a while.
That's correct. Well, that was my 2 cents.
Okay, buddy. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay. So, you know, like I said, this is just one of many old buildings down that area of Rocky Mount that sadly will more than likely come to a demolition demise in the not too distant future unless someone steps in and tries to save it. Oh, we've got another call. Let's get this call. Hello, caller, you're on the air.
All right, that building that you've got on the screen right now is on the opposite side of Washington Street from the corner location of where the Pepsi-Cola bottling company was.
That's correct.
It was on the corner. The Pepsi plant was on the corner of Hill Street and South Washington Street, and this building is on the opposite side of Washington Street from the old Pepsi plant.
That's right.
The middle of the block.
Yep, you're exactly right. It is across the street. You're right. All right, thank you. Okay. All right, so I tell you, I just realized we're at time for our next commercial break. Lee, bring it back to me, and we'll go ahead and take a quick break here. We've got another, I don't know, 8 or 10 pictures to share with you folks, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We'll talk some more about some old buildings, old furniture stores, and old Rocky Mount. We'll be right back.
I'm Daniel Moss, owner of Cornstalk Funeral Home, and I'd like to invite you and your family to give our family an opportunity to serve you in your time of need. And we offer a full line of funeral services, everything from visitations to graveside services to cremations on site with a live crematory, as well as a banquet hall to meet the catering needs of our families that we serve. We offer catering service. We offer refreshments prior to visitations and services of our family. And we want to invite you to come and experience the difference here at Cornstalk Funeral Home.
Hello, my name is Gus Tullis of Gus Tullis Insurance, and I've been helping people with their insurance needs for well over 20 years. If you're turning 65 or you're currently on Medicare, I can help you make the best decision for the Medicare plan that will suit your needs. Don't wait. Call me today. I'll answer any question you have. 252-937-6913. Looking forward to hearing from you.
When faced with special care needs for elderly or disabled loved ones, families want compassionate, comforting care. That's Tender Touch Home Care Services' goal, providing the level of care we would expect for our own. With over 10 years of home care excellence, Tender Touch provides an array of services that keeps your loved one at home. From personal care, light housekeeping, errands, and meal preparation, to our private duty care program, which combines all of our home care offerings in one package.
Tender Touch Home Care Services, where your needs are our concern.
And we're back. Folks, if you're just tuning in, we're talking about Washington Street and Main Street and the furniture stores and other businesses that occupy that area down there, emanating from 5 Points, particularly south of 5 Points. And you know, we, as I said, a lot of these buildings go back to the early 1900s, and there have been multiple businesses occupied some of these spaces over the years. And so it's neat to me to go back and kind of trace what was in these buildings, going back to when the building was built, and that's something that it's kind of difficult to do sometimes. You go back to a certain point and there's just no records beyond that. So the old city directors are a big help in trying to find out who occupied a certain address or a certain building at a certain time frame, but there's only so much information there. So with that being said, let's jump on, Lee. I think picture number 15 is our next one. And this is an advertisement also for a place called the Southern Specialty Company. And it appeared in the Rocky Mount Telegram in May of 1935. And you see the address there, 116 South Washington Street. Okay? That would be that previous block. We were just talking about the 200 block there where the Pepsi-Cola bottling plant was, and then the building across the street from that was where that the city mission was, and the haunted house and so forth. This would have been the one block north of that, of course. 116 South Washington Street, the Southern Specialty Company. They sold paint. I don't know what else they sold, but you see, buy your paint here, outside and inside, $1.75 per gallon. Compared to today's prices, that's cheap, obviously. But you know, golly, 1934, that does sound a little bit steep to me, $1.75 per gallon. I'm guessing it was probably pretty good paint, maybe hard to come by, I don't know. But in any case, 116 South Washington Street is where this business was located. So, okay, Lee, let's go to the next one then. We were just talking about the Pepsi-Cola bottling plant. So this ad appeared in 1935, and you see there, the Orange Crush Bottling Company was what it was referred to. And you see the bottom of the listing there. Can you zoom in on that, Lee? I think it says 216 to 218 South Washington Street. But you see the Pepsi-Cola 5 cent. There you go, yeah, it's 216. And also you see they got 1,000 10-gallon kegs for 75 cents. Also a lot of 1 to 5 gallon kegs for $1, suitable for wine and molasses. But I never knew it was referred to as the Orange Crush Bottling Company. But you see the address there, 216 to 218 South Washington Street. Okay, so if you remember, that building we were just talking about was also 216 South Washington Street. So obviously this is not the same building as the 2-, 3-, 4-story building on the corner that was later to be known as Pepsi-Cola Bottling Company, and then Camasco and Rocky Mount Popcorn Company, and there was a laundromat business in there at one time too. There were two different businesses there that were both connected to Pepsi-Cola, one on one side of the street and one on the other side of the street. So this building is one we were just looking at a couple of minutes ago, and the bigger building that we all associate with the old Pepsi-Cola bottling plant was directly across the street. So that's why I said I'm thinking, I've not been able to confirm this, but I'm thinking maybe this building could have been either some kind of administrative offices, because keep in mind, this is in 1935 here. This ad appeared in the Rocky Mount Telegram in 1935. And so I'm not exactly sure when the bigger building across the street on the corner there went into operation. I have to do some digging on that for next week's show and see if I can find out exactly when it became known as the Pepsi-Cola plant. But I know in the 1950s it was there because my father worked there. And in fact, he worked there and also at the one out on North Church Street across from the athletic field out there too. He worked there too. So anyway, okay, Lisa, let's go ahead then. Let's fast forward to 1946. And someone mentioned Bailey's Furniture a while ago. This ad appeared in the Rocky Mount Telegram in 1946, and you can see there, Whaley Furniture Company has leased the building at 203 to 205 South Main Street, formerly occupied by joiners, and is renovating and remodeling for occupancy around February 15th. O.G. Whaley, head of the firm, has been in the furniture business in Elizabeth City for the past 5 years. Prior to that, from 1931 to 1941, he was affiliated with the Quinn Furniture Company here. So many of you remember Quinn Furniture. They were also a major furniture company downtown Rocky Mount. And so Mr. Whaley worked for Quinn, left here, went to Elizabeth City, worked for another furniture company, and then came back here and purchased this building, or leased it, I should say. He leased a building that was previously occupied by this other business referred to as joiners, and then he opened up Whaley Furniture. And this, as I said, this ad appeared in 1946, March of 1946. So, okay, Lee, so let's go to the next picture then. I'm sorry, this was January of 1946. In March of 1946, you can go ahead, Lee, and put, I think it should be picture number 18 now. And this would have been, I think this is the actual grand opening. There you go. a lot going on here, and we won't try to cover it all, but this was the grand opening. And Lee, just zoom in. I just want to kind of give the viewers an idea about what furniture prices were like in 1946. We mentioned earlier about, by this time the war's over with. World War II is history. The troops have returned home from the war. Some of them got a little money in their pockets, but even those that don't can get credit most anywhere now. And so, excuse me, there were a lot of deals going on with furniture. And some of these sofa prices and complete room, there's a three-piece set there for $180, I think it's $184. There's a sofa for $144. Studio couch for $64. There's a lot of money back then, obviously. In 1946, 47, this was, a fair amount of expense. But, one of the things that I've kind of come to realize is that people will find the money to pay for things they want. And if they want some nice furniture, or they want to, to live in a nice home, they want to drive a nice car, whatever they desire, they'll find a way to afford it or get it on credit or whatever. And so people like nice things, obviously. And so furniture stores have, had a pretty good run over the years. Go back as far as you want to any organized community, city, municipality, town, or whatever. There's going to be a furniture maker or a furniture store, something there somewhere, almost for the duration. So, okay, so let's fast forward a little bit here. Then let's see. That was number 18. In 1966, this next ad appeared. 203 South Main Street, and you go ahead and put Lee. I think it's item number 19 on your list there, and. We'll give Lee a minute to pull that one up. And while we're waiting, we'll kind of, there you go. And you see there, this was just a simple one main listing. Whaley Furniture, 203 South of Main Street. This caught my attention because of the phone number, the bottom right-hand corner. I'm sure many of you, most of you, in fact, will probably remember when you didn't have to do anything but dial the last 5 numbers of the phone number. The GI, of course, stood for 44. And so it was, the full number was 442-6115. But I very distinctly remember dialing a bunch of numbers in my childhood and just dialing the last 5 numbers. In fact, I still remember both of my grandparents' phone numbers, and I never dialed a 44 for either one of those. So that's just kind of something neat that I had forgotten about briefly, and then when I saw this ad, it kind of brought it back to me. Okay, so let's go ahead then, Lee. That was 18, I think, right? Was that 19? That was 19. Okay. Okay. Sadly, in October of 1985, Whaley's Furniture had run their run. They had, had a good long run in business, almost 20 years. But in 1985, they had a going out of business sale, and you see some. They, pretty good prices there on some recliners and entire den groupings and rocking chairs and sleeper sofas and bunk beds. Bottom line was they were selling out and closing up and going out of business. And again, this ad appeared October of 1985, and it was Whaley Furniture Stores going out of business sale. So, it happens. Businesses come and businesses go, but they had been in business for a good while, had a good run, and it was kind of sad to see them go. Okay, Lee, so let's jump then to one business goes out of business and another business can come into being. This is actually from 1975, so this predates the Whaley's going out of business. But you see the ad there. This gentleman here, Mr. Raper, it says Tucker Furniture grand opening to introduce Main Street location. And there's a little bit, Lee, if you can zoom in on this, I want to read a little bit of this to the viewers, or at least get us if we can. There you go. Tucker Furniture Company, which has consolidated its operations in the Rocky Mount Furniture Company building on Southeast Main Street, will have an open house Friday and Saturday. Tucker Furniture, which has owned Rocky Mount Furniture for 8 years, will move from its Washington Street location to Rocky Mount Furniture Company building on Main Street. During the open house, the furniture store will offer door prizes to visitors and will also give gifts in purchases of $300 or more in merchandise. Tucker Furniture Company was founded in 1886 and now has a chain of 4 stores. Its main office is in Wilson, with stores in Rocky Mount, Smithfield, and Raleigh. The new Tucker Furniture store will be on 4 corners with some 13,000 square feet of display space. And you see there, there's John M. Raper was a store manager. So this appeared, as I said, in 1975. And for a while, Tucker Furniture ran 2 locations. They ran this one here, and then they ran the other one out in the Inglewood Square Shopping Center. And so, Lee, if we could, let's go to the next picture then. And there you go. This is, I think this, zoom in on this if you could, Lee. This is one I meant to print off and did not. I think this just gives a little bit of history about the business here too. And I don't know if we can get it. It may not zoom in. We can try it and see. You gonna get it? Okay. Bear with us, folks. We've got to kind of jump through a couple of hoops here sometimes to get these things to get in a view where we can read them. But you know, this is one of these businesses that's been around for many, many years, been in existence. There you go. Started after the Civil War by his grandfather Tucker. Edwin Tucker probably told the most interesting story. This is a excerpt that was talking about local businesses, and this appeared in this is number 23, right, Lee? 22, okay. This appeared in 1988, and it was an article in the Rocky Mount Telegram that was talking about some of the more established, older businesses in Rocky Mount. I knew that's why I wanted to put this in here. It says Tucker's grandfather was working with a local fur company, and at age 16, he had an opportunity to go to Texas and work for a company there. His manager told him he could work on his own, and he decided to open a store which began selling draperies, sheets, and spreads. He talked with his mother, and for collateral, they decided to put up their farm, which was 300 acres. But when they went to the bank to borrow $100, the bank told them they didn't have enough collateral. Can you imagine having a 300-acre farm and not having enough collateral to borrow $100? Things changed for the young Tucker. They went to the local doctor, who was a friend of the family, to borrow the money. Tucker said they borrowed the money on a 90-day note with 25% interest. Tucker Furniture opened in 1895 in Rocky Mount and now has stores in Wilson and Smithfield. I think the main reason our business has been successful was the quality, the pride of the workers in our store, and that they're conscientious about the job they do. So, neat history there about Tucker Furniture and how it got started. You know, the perseverance of a young man, 16 years old, by the way, to start a company literally with nothing and to borrow $100 at 25% interest. That was a lot of money in the 1800s, 1895, when this all came together. And so you kind of got to give this kid some props for, first of all, trying to go into business for himself, and certainly to take on that kind of responsibility at that young of an age especially shows a lot of gumption for that young fellow. And so obviously he had a pretty good run. If we could, let's go ahead then to the next one. And as I said earlier, some things, all good things sometimes go to an end or come to an end, and which was the case with Tucker Furniture Company. In August of 1999, they decided to close its Rocky Mount store, and it said the reason was excessive overhead. You know, and that's oftentimes a killer for small business. You know, you struggle and you try to make ends meet, and you know, you cut corners, you tighten the belt, you do whatever you can, but sometimes overhead just eats you up. And in a business where you've got a lot of overhead and a lot of money tied up in inventory, because you got to keep this stuff on display. You know, people are not going to come in and look at a book and order a living room suit or a sofa or, you know, whatever. They want to sit on it, they want to feel it, want to touch it, they want to see how it looks. So you got to have this stuff on hand. And I can imagine it's a tough business to be in, especially in a downturn in the economy. But anyway, this was in 1999 that Tucker Furniture closed up the Rocky Mount store. We're almost out of time, Lee. Let's go ahead and get these last two in. Davis Furniture Company in 1996. And this is, to me, a success story. This family had already owned some property downtown Rocky Mount. And Mr. Davis actually, here we go. This is his daughter. I think her name is Michelle. Zoom in on that, Lee, if you could, just for a minute. We won't read the whole thing. It's kind of a long article. But this building, the family leased it, and she went to college. I think she went to East Carolina, in fact. Came out of college and went into this business here with her and her father. And to my knowledge, they're still in business today. Davis Furniture is still down there on Main Street on the corner. And they do a really good business from what I understand. I was in there, it's been a few years ago, just browsing around. I had a lot of nice stuff in there, and it's a really nice store. And nice folks too. And you know, it's good to see some businesses that are able to make a go of it in downtown Rocky Mount, because unfortunately so many have tried and failed, and so many have just, you know, just couldn't stand it down there. And lastly, let's go to the very last one. And this is from, I think it's a picture of the building, if I'm not mistakenly. Number 25 should be your, there you go. And that's the store there. Still a good looking store. Like I said, it's on the corner there. And done a couple of those businesses there over the years, but it is now Davis Furniture. It has been for a number of years, in fact. And like I said, I think they've got a pretty good business going there. Folks, that's going to do it for us tonight. We've run slam out of time. Lee, bring it back to me. I want to thank those who called in and shared your memories and your thoughts and about these buildings and these businesses we talked about tonight. I'm going to do a little more digging and see what I can find. I want to go back and revisit some of these spots, some of these addresses, and some of these buildings downtown Rocky Mount. And we'll do that on next week's show. Folks, thanks again for tuning in. Glad to have you always. Take care of yourselves. Have a great week and be kind to one another. We'll see you next week with more Way Back Wednesday. Good night.